Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Great Retirement Debate. Jeff, what have we got today?
All right, today we've got a pretty juicy topic, and it's one that I know you get a lot of questions on, I get a lot of questions on, everybody gets a lot of questions on, and potentially it's going to be a little politically divisive.
Oh, okay.
All right, it's always good to talk about politics, you know. We're going to alienate half our audience today.
Okay.
All right, no, the question is, can I trust the government to keep its word about the Roth? Or better yet, should I trust the government to keep its word about the Roth IRA?
You know, that question I get in every consumer program because I talk all about the Roth. I love the Roth IRA because I love tax-free. And people are at the program say, oh, this sounds good, no RMDs. They love the Roth, tax-free, even tax-free to beneficiaries. But then somebody always says, but exactly what Jeff said. And sometimes they're not as nice as the way you the way you asked it. They say, but can I trust the government to keep its word that they'll never tax Roth IRAs? And some of the older people bring up, what do you think they bring up?
It's got to be Social Security.
Right. Don't you remember? They said they would never tax Social Security. You can't trust these guys. So here's the answer to the question. Can you trust the government? The answer is absolutely not. I can't trust. You can't trust them as far as you could throw them. You can't trust them as far as you can throw them. There's an old CPA saying says tax laws are written in pencil. They change all the time, and if you notice, like lately, they're changing every year.
Yeah, it's been a brutal number of years between the Tax Cut and Jobs Act and the Secure Act and Secure Act 2.0.
Not to mention rulings and regulations that many people are not aware of that are under the radar.
But really important still, right?
Right.
Lots of guidance comes out in them that is effectively, while not law, has almost the same impact on planning.
Because these are the rules we go by. Because some of these laws are written so hastily and haphazardly that it's not the IRS's fault. Their job is to, in English, somehow interpret what they think Congress had in mind before they ran home on December 29th.
All right, so just to, our question for today is, should I trust the government to keep its word about the Roth? Just so we're clear on what we're talking about here.
All right.
What are we concerned that might change? What are some of the benefits of the Roth that people might be worried about would change?
All right, so let's go through the benefits of the Roth. First of all, my answer is, for the most part, I'll give you my position. You may disagree. First, I'm saying yes, you can try. I hate even using the phrase. You can trust government, but yes, I believe the Roth.
Can I get that on? I just want to make sure that's on. Is the audio clear, everyone? Can we make sure we have him on record?
Is the tax-free feature of a Roth safe? Is it safe? It reminds me of that movie. Remember the movie? Marathon Man. Before your time. Is it safe? Right? That was the big question. Is it safe? Well, the Roth, there's no question. The Roth is the best retirement account to own. The only question is how much you're willing to pay to get it. So a lot of people have paid to get tax-free. The big benefit of the Roth, once you have it in the Roth, that money is income tax-free for the rest of your life and 10 years beyond, even under the Secure Act and the 10-year rule. No RMDs during life. And new for 2024, no required minimum distributions on Roth 401ks either. So you have total control. You never have to take that money out. And if you do, it's generally going to be tax-free. So most people say, this is too good to be true. Isn't Congress going to eventually tax this? And here's why I say probably not. I'm going to give you a little secret here. I'm going to share one of my secrets. You know what Benjamin Franklin said about secrets? 3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. I'm going to give you my secret. Congress secretly loves, addicted to Roth IRAs. Why do I say that? Well, let's go back in time. You remember, Jeff, 2010?
Barely. I think I was 4 at the time. No, just yes. Yes, I remember 2010.
And before 2010, who could convert to a Roth?
Only people with lower income, which is actually the people Congress doesn't really want to convert. Congress likes people with high income tax to convert to Roth.
And they changed that. It used to be if your income exceeded $100,000, you could not convert to a Roth. But then, as usual, Congress needed money, and they eliminated that limitation. And they saw boatloads of money coming in, including mine. Mine. I took that deal. I begged everybody to take that deal. And what was the deal? I'm going to give you a question here. I converted everything in 2010. How much tax did I pay in 2010?
half of the income was
Zero.
included. Wow.
Zero. I told you to sign up for that deal. You know what the deal was? If you converted in 2010, you pay zero tax in 2010, half in 11 and half in 12.
That's a good deal.
The government gave everyone, I was telling everybody this, an interest-free loan to build a tax-free savings account. But here's where Congress comes in. They saw boatloads of money coming in. They said, ooh, this is a good revenue raiser. And then they started going in deep with the Roth, and they started realizing, hey, wait a minute. More Roth means more revenue for us. So they expanded Roth 401ks, Roth 403bs, Roth workplace plans. And I was going to say they tipped their hands, but they just gave the store away. They told us what they really feel in Secure 2.0, where they went all in. I call it Roth-a-mania. SEP Roth IRAs, simple Roth IRAs, 529 to Roth, matching contributions Roth, catch-up contributions Roth, Roth, everywhere.
They made Roths more available. They made Roths more attractive. And one of the provisions was actually the first dipping of the toe, if you will, into the waters of forced Rothification, right? Those with high income was supposed to start actually in 2024, but now has been pushed back to 2026. Those with high wages specifically are going to have to make any catch-up contributions to a Roth IRA. You don't have a choice. And, Ed, a lot of times, you mentioned the government and Congress likes bringing in revenue. Now, there is a general differences between parties, right? Without getting too into politics here. In general,
but it's one thing that both parties agree on.
Yep, that's exactly where I'm going. Republicans usually like to lower taxes if they can with the revenue. Everybody likes the revenue, I guess is the point, right? Republicans look and say we can lower tax rates with the revenue without increasing the deficit. Democrats might look and say, great, we have more revenue, we can create more social programs without increasing the deficit. But everybody sort of likes the revenue. And even this idea that, well, high income earners are now eligible to convert to Roth since 2010, and high-income wage earners are going to be required. Some people might think, oh, that's got to be one of those Democrat ideas. I would remind folks that back in 2017, when Republicans had the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives, so full control over the U.S. government, and actually used that control to pass the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, they did so. And up until about a month or so before they passed the bill, one of the things that they included in their draft legislation was forced Rothification for everything, not just the catch-up contributions, which was a change made by Secure Act 2.0, but everything. They were just going to do away with pre-tax accounts, period. Why? Because it would have allowed them to get more money now to pay for the other tax cuts that they wanted to include in their bill. And so it's not a Democratic thing like let's have high earners pay for this. This was actually an idea that was really put forward initially, perhaps counterintuitively, by Republicans. Ultimately, it was removed from their final piece of legislation because it was so politically unpopular.
Oh, no. People were screaming. They said, what? No more deductions for my 401k?
That's right.
And it's not a... Yeah, every time I use the word deduction with a 401k, somebody says, where do you deduct it on the tax return? It's an exclusion from income.
Same thing. At the end of the day, same
It's
thing.
actually better than a deduction because it comes off your wages. So the government, Congress, wanted to do away with pre-tax 401k contributions because it created a tax benefit and they would lose revenue. And remember I talked to you about all the Rothification, or I call Roth-a-mania in Secure 2.0? I don't know if you ever saw the actual 2.0 bill, and I know you probably did because you go through it like I did. But if you look at the actual bill, which you can find online, Secure 2.0, all of those Roth provisions that I just mentioned
I know where you're going with this one.
Are under
in a section.
Are under heading, the font of which is Men Walk on Moon font, if you know what I mean. In 1969, that font, the font, and it read revenue provisions. So Congress just they said, no, we're doing it. We like the Roth because of the revenue it brings in. So that's why I think they're not going to kill the golden goose. Luckily for us, Congress are the worst financial planners on earth because they're so short-sighted.
And they're required to be short-sighted, right? I think you're alluding to the fact that Congress looks at a 10-year budget window.
Right, exactly.
You or I always say, if we had clients that came in with a mortgage and it had a balloon payment in the 11th year, right? And the client said, I need a financial plan. And we showed them a financial plan where they were making their interest payments for 10 years. And the client turned to us and said, what happens in the 11th year? And we said, well, who cares? It's 11 years.
Yeah.
We'd lose our jobs, right? The client would say, what type of professional are you?
Right.
And yet, not only does Congress act like
example.
that, Congress has to act like that.
Right.
They are required. So a lot of
years.
times people come up and they say, but isn't Congress giving away the farm down the road, right? Well, think about all the lost revenue that they won't have in the future. And
That's for a future Congress.
That's right. Some other poor schlub in the future is going to have to deal with that.
Right.
Not
So
Congress today.
That's why, personally, I don't think they're going to kill the golden goose. And here's why. It creates revenue. They're using Roth provisions to pay, as Jeff said, for everything else in the bill. So Roth IRAs or Roth 401ks bring in money. They bring in revenue. The only money that can get into a Roth IRA is already tax money, so they get their money up front. So that's why I say don't worry about it. Now, it could be, and this could be, Congress could trim around the edges, somehow include some Roth factor into adjusted gross income or a modified adjusted gross income if you take a Roth or levels of Roth. But I think if they go too far and kill the real tax-free, income tax-free benefit of the Roth, they'll kill the golden goose, and I don't think they're going to do that. In fact, I think they're going to expand Roth availability.
I agree. I think that Rothification of the catch-up, I think we see that expand, if anything else. Congress likes the Roth, to your point. And, just as we wrap up here, Ed, a few other points. You mentioned, you started the discussion kind of comparing this to Social Security. And one thing I like to remind people is that was sort of a unspoken promise, if you will, that we're not going to tax it. It wasn't really ingrained in the tax code. But the people
never forget.
They don't forget. But the tax code does say, if you do this, then your future revenue is tax-free. So there are a lot of smart constitutional experts out there who believe if they change that, there would be some constitutional challenges to that. Yeah, you'd almost certainly see that grandfathered in for some. I could see other changes happening in the future. For instance, when people say, can I trust the government to keep its word about the Roth? I like to separate it into two different areas. The tax-free element, which I think is going to stick around, because otherwise no one's going to convert.
And they'll get no revenue.
That's right. And the RMD issue. I think they could have RMDs at some point for Roth IRAs. I could see that.
That's what I call trimming around the edges.
Yep, that's fair. Yeah. But I also think, who cares? Because Congress keeps pushing back the RMD age anyway. If they start RMDs at 90, what difference does it make anyway? So this is one area where you and I actually have a sincere and fundamental agreement on things that, if you're concerned that, I guess nothing is for sure, right? Our crystal balls are no less cloudy than anyone else's. But if I was thinking about, if I was a retiree or I was getting ready to retire and I was doing my planning, of the 7,462 things that might keep me up at night, this is probably 7,425, right? It is low on the list of things that I'm going to worry about.
It's a pretty good bet that Congress will always be looking for revenue.
All right. Well, what do you think? Let us know. Give us a shout. You can get to Ed at the Slot Report on Twitter. You can reach myself at CPA Planner. Let us know. Do you think you can trust the government when it comes to the Roth IRA? We'd love to hear from you. Ed, thanks for another fun discussion, and we'll see everyone real soon on the next Great Retirement Debate.